Hello, I am Xarkun, and this is World of Warships on the PC. Got something a little bit different for you today. As you know, if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, I am a community contributor for World of Warships Legends, the console cousin of this game, not a community contributor for World of Warships PC. I play the game though. I've only got about 3,000 battles in it compared to my 18,000 in Legends, so I'm not quite as familiar with all the goings-ons here. But I did complete the dockyard for USS Wisconsin, the first dockyard I've ever completed in this game, and I think this ship is fantastic. I asked you guys, my audience, about a week ago if you would like to see me cover the ship in a video, and overwhelmingly, you said yes. So this is that video. If you'd like to see me cover more ships on World of Warships PC, let me know in the comments. I've got some other ships like the Wisconsin that simply don't exist in Legends. And I figure you guys, my audience, might be interested in seeing some more of those, because after all, this ship and some of the other ships I have in this game that don't yet exist in Legends may come to Legends one day. In any case, we're going to go over the USS Wisconsin. I'm going to, as I always do for ship reviews on Legends, cover the stats, but keep in mind the stats are going to be influenced by my commander build and mod selection. I'll put those on the screen right now so you can see. If you're not super familiar with WoW's PC, they might not make a whole lot of sense to you. I'll try to elucidate some of the details as we go on, but first I want to give a quick rundown of the stats. USS Wisconsin is, of course, a real historical battleship. It's one of the 4 Iowa-class battleships, very famous and very beautiful, I must say. So, Iowa, though, is a Tier 9 on World of Warships, and Wisconsin is a Tier 10. What justifies the jump in tiers, you might ask? And I'll get to that momentarily. But to begin with, things here are pretty similar to what you'll find on the Iowa, starting with the HP pool. We do have a little bit more HP than the Iowa does because we are at a higher tier, but only 81,100 HP. That's not a lot by Tier 10 standards, so you do, in some sense, have to be careful, especially because this is also an Iowa-class hull, which, well, it takes damage from pretty much any angle. To be fair, that salvo there from, I think, the USS Wisconsin on the red team was against our flat broadside, so we would expect it to take away quite a bit of damage, but I don't think it citadeled us. The Wisconsin, unlike the Iowa, does have a citadel that is buried pretty much completely underwater, whereas the Iowa citadel, I think, is waterline and therefore quite a bit more accessible. At closer ranges, you're really not going to be taking too many citadels in the USS Wisconsin, which is kind of dumb, but at longer ranges, when we've got plunging fire, you absolutely can be citadeled. I've citadeled enough Wisconsins to know that in my time playing this ship, and I've been citadeled enough in return. The torpedo damage reduction on this ship is likewise not very impressive, 25%, so you certainly don't want to be taking any torpedoes. Luckily, the Groningen up there, which is a copy-paste of the Friesland, does not have torpedoes, so as we make this push, we don't need to worry. The guns, though, that's really the highlight of this ship, I would say. We've got 9 406mm guns like the USS Iowa. They've got a 23.4 km range if you don't build into it, but of course we do have the spotter plane consumable, which gives us a range boost every time we send that thing into the air. These guns have a 30-second reload, 32.6-second turret traverse time. Both of those things are fairly good, especially the turret traverse. The AP Shell Alpha, though, with these being 406mm guns, is not quite that impressive by Tier 10 standards. It's only 13.5k. A lot of the ships at this tier have larger guns, or at least more numerous guns. So this can kind of feel like a weaker AP Alpha than the rest of those ships. However, we are running the Super Heavy AP skill. I think that's what it's called. It gives us 7.5% buff to the AP Alpha, so we're sitting at 14,513. Although in return, it makes the fires last for a lot longer. So even though we're built for fire protection with the mod selection, and normally we would have like a 45-second burn time. We actually have closer to a 60-second burn time, although that's not that big of a deal once we get into talking about this ship's major gimmick, and I'll get to that in a second. As for the HE characteristics, 5700 HE shell alpha with a 36% fire chance, nothing too special there. Speed is 34.1 knots with the speed flags, so you do get around fairly quickly. And the concealment is 12.9 km, which is very good, at least I think so. The AA on this ship, I don't know how much there is to say about it because I don't know how useful AA is in World of Warships. We are going to shoot down some planes as time goes on, and the AA does have an aggregate rating of 93 for whatever that's worth. It has a 5.8 km range as well, and it's got 8 flak. And plus, you do get access to the DFAA consumable, along with the spotter plane, which is nice. We'll be using that consumable in a little bit as time goes on. But notice, of course, as we are shooting at the red ships here, there is a bar under our reticle that continues to fill up. Once we land enough shells and that bar turns green, we activate the funny button, which we've just done now. This is the major highlight of the USS Wisconsin and the major gimmick. You might call it broken, actually, because it solves one of the major problems that every battleship in this game faces, which is the cooldown time on the damage control consumable. What this funny button does when activated is reduce the consumable reload time by 85%. So if you've got your heal or your DCP or spotter plane or defensive AA on cooldown and you're waiting for them to come back online, you can hit that funny button and it will reduce the reload time of those consumables by a whopping 85%, which basically means you can get them back instantly on demand. Of course, you have to fill up the funny button progress bar in order to do that, but it's not too terribly difficult to do. I think you have to land a total of like 16 shells to fill it up all the way, and once it fills up, it stays filled. It will degrade over time, though. After 50 seconds, you'll start losing progress if you're not landing any shells. But it also has another feature, in addition to shortening the consumable reload time, which is basically, it's an unlimited French main battery reload booster. It reduces the reload of the main guns by 50%, so you can use it in situations like this, when you've got a Italian battleship, the Loria, pushing into the broadside of his own teammate and essentially beaching himself on there. We get 2 salvos to send against him in the span of about 15 seconds because it reduces the reload time by 50%, and we're able to deal more damage to the Loria than we otherwise would have been able to do. The first salvo, of course, was a lot better. It did 40k, I think, there. The second one, I don't think it hit the Citadel. I think we aimed midships and it fell to the front of the ship and missed the Citadel. But do we get the kill here with the third salvo? You see, with that reload booster feature of this funny button, you can essentially get 3 salvos out in quick succession. So we do get the kill on the Loria. That's 2 kills, 100,000 damage done in about 10 minutes here. Still got 11 minutes left to go. And, well, this flank is basically clear. All we've got to worry about is the Satsuma. And that leads me to the armor on this ship and the Citadel. Well, the armor, of course, is standard Iowa class armor, which is not especially great. We've got a 32mm bow and stern, and the Satsuma, which I think has, 20-inch guns? At least I think that's a Satsuma. It might be a Shikishima. I can't actually read the name of the ship on my screen here as I'm recording. It's too small, so I apologize if I'm misnaming the ship that's right in front of my face. In any case, he can overmatch our bow and our stern. And, well, our side plating is enough to bounce his shells, but the Iowa is a very long class of battleships. There's a lot of flat surfaces here, and it's got gigantic superstructure, so it does tend to take a lot of damage from practically any angle, which is not always ideal. But of course, if you do take damage, and as long as it's healable, you can be a very effective tank by using the funny button and bringing the heal back off cooldown. It's not a specialized kind of heal either. It's unique, I suppose. The American battleships in this game do get an improved sort of heal that restores more HP than a standard battleship heal, and we do have that going on, but this is not a super heal by any means. I don't think it's got any bonus to healing Citadel damage, but, well, if you take Citadel damage, you're only going to be taking it at longer ranges. In the Wisconsin, since the Citadel is buried underwater, compared to the Iowa's Citadel, which is waterline. At close ranges, this thing's Citadel is almost impossible to hit, but at longer ranges, when plunging fire is involved, you can hit it pretty consistently. And of course, you don't want that to happen because this heal, again, does not really repair that kind of critical damage. In any case, the Wisconsin also has the, I think, most accurate guns in the game, which is another highlight of the ship. We've got 2.0 or 2.05 Sigma here and excellent dispersion. This is by far, I think, the most accurate ship at tier 10, and it really shows. Now, the most accurate ship, of course, does not mean perfect. RNG is still a factor for any battleship in this game, so some salvos are at times going to troll you, but a lot of the time they're going to look like laser beams, like the rear turret of Justice there does against the Iowa. Doesn't do very impressive damage when it hits, but all 3 shells hit, even if 2 of them are ricochets. So, yeah, this accuracy is excellent, and when it comes to dealing with destroyers, which we may or may not be able to do against the Khabarovsk up there, well, when it comes to dealing with those, this kind of accuracy means you can land a lot of shells, and if you've got it built with super heavy AP, and you've got an alpha strike of 14,000 on the AP, then every time you hit a destroyer for an overpen, that's 1.4k. Imagine doing that with 6, 7, 8, 9 shells. That's going to be a lot of damage to a destroyer, and they're going to be hurting pretty badly. Let's see if we can get an example here against the Khabarovsk with the front guns. The accuracy, as you can see, looks pretty good, and it does hit for 5.8. That's 4 shells out of the 6 we sent his way. I'd say that's a pretty good hit ratio, and sometimes you even get all of the shells, too, which is nice. As for this game, though, there are 7 minutes left to go. The enemy team does have 2 of the caps on this shard map. We've only got 1. We've got 2 kills to our name, 146,000 damage done. Certainly not a bad result by anybody's standards, I wouldn't think. We're going to see here if we can finish off the Khabarovsk, and then we're going to go and try to deal with the Wisconsin and the Minotaur. We've got still the CV to worry about as well, which could be a little bit of a problem. We're at half HP, and there's probably not a lot we can do if the CV chooses to focus us. We might be able to shoot down some of his planes, but he's likely still going to be able to get drops, and those are going to take away our HP quite quickly if we're not careful. So the goal here, I think, is to get around this capture circle, and then I think push into Bravo, maybe sink the Khabarovsk if we can, and then try to sink the Wisconsin and the Minotaur. At this point, the enemy is ahead of us on points, and the ship count is even. It's 4v4, but the enemy has a, I would say, major advantage in the form of USS Enterprise still being alive. Our carrier sunk some time ago, not quite sure how. I suspect he probably didn't move when he had the enemy team pushing into him. In any case, what do we do here? Well, I think because we're behind on caps, it would be a good idea as sort of an insurance policy for us to secure one of them. And initially I was thinking we might go around the Bravo cap and try to push into both the Wisconsin and the Minotaur. But now I'm thinking with the Khabarovsk shooting back at me that I actually want to turn and go into Bravo. We do have 1 or 2 ships heading into the Bravo cap right now, trying to flip it, but I think they are getting continually reset, and I don't think they're going to end up taking the cap. That salvo there against the Khabarovsk is a bit unfortunate. He's able to turn out of the way and dodge it, but we are working with really, really good accuracy here, so he's not going to be able to dodge for eternity if we can get this aim dialed in. Plus, he's far enough away that we will go dark. if we are not spotted by the planes, which will give us a little bit of a reprieve because the Khabarovsk can farm some damage on us with his HE. He did get 2 fires there, and we do not have fire protection on our commander build, actually, which may be a little bit of a problem. It means we're more susceptible to being lit on fire, but hey, when we fill up the funny button, we are able to use the DCP to put out even a single fire if we want to, especially if we know we can get the consumable off cooldown in another 15-20 seconds by using the funny button gimmick. In any case, Khabarovsk is almost dead, and there he goes for our 3rd kill of the game with the rear turret of Justice dispensing out justice once again. Now it's 3v3. Khabarovsk is perished. It's just me, this battleship that I think is right in front of me about to sink. Yep, there he goes. Now it's 2v2. CV and Minotaur versus me and the final remaining friendly destroyer, who you can see is kited back very far past our spawn, somewhere between Bravo and Charlie. It's the Dutch destroyer Trump, and if I remember correctly, he's barely got any HP. So, enemy team is still ahead of us on points, 641 to 5, or 628 rather. They're ahead, and if we're going to win this game, we're going to have to be the ones to secure the victory. So that's what I've got in mind for these final 4 minutes here. What we're going to do is go into this cap while the CV is busy trying to sink our last remaining battleship teammate. He's going to succeed in that endeavor, but that, I think, is going to be the end of his planes for the moment. He might be able to come over here and start trying to drop me, but in any case, we need to secure this cap. There's Minotaur. He, of course, has no armor, and we have the most accurate guns of any battleship at tier 10, so he is gone. That's 3 citadels, our 4th kill of the game there, and a devastating strike. If you are annoyed playing battleships because of inconsistency in RNG and not being able to dev strike cruisers and the like, this is a great antidote for that. Unfortunately, I don't think if you don't already have it in World of Warships PC, I don't think you can grind it anymore in the dockyard. It might still be available for purchase, but that's going to be hundreds of US dollars at the minimum if you want to buy out the whole dockyard campaign. So how worth it that would be for you, I don't know, but this ship is excellent. I find it very fun to play, and you could say that this consumable reduction time with the funny button is kind of broken, especially since it gives you instant DCP. In any case, I hope this comes to Legends one day. We're on fire, courtesy of the CV. We're about 10 seconds away from flipping the cap. CV's coming back with some rocket planes. Hopefully we're able to secure this cap before they come here and reset us. That was my idea. We're still behind on points, and there's only 2 minutes left to go in this game. But now that we flipped the cap, you can see I'm running some mods on WoWs. I've got this score timer, and it says there's 4 minutes and 20-some seconds before we win. So we've secured the victory conditions here. We've gotten 2 out of 3 of the caps. Enemy is only accruing points from Charlie. We're accruing points from both Alpha and Bravo, and eventually we will overtake the enemy team on points. That will happen very shortly here, so we should win as long as we stay alive. Now that might be a little bit of an iffy prospect because there's not much we can do against the CV. We've got, 7 planes shot down thus far, and he's still able to send full squadrons our way. I'm not too familiar with I think this is the Essex. I might have been calling it the Enterprise earlier on. Whoops. In any case, the Essex, he is going to be able to do quite a bit of damage to us, the AA notwithstanding. We can activate the DFAA consumable, which we're going to do now, but I think he's still going to be able to get a drop-off on either the Trump or myself. In any case, it's kind of irrelevant. All we want to do is get into the Charlie cap and stop the red team from accruing points at all. That way we can make our lead climb, because I was worried that the Trump was going to go down. He does. It's enough to put the enemy team ahead on points again temporarily, and there's less than a minute left to go in this game. But because the enemy is not accruing any points from this cap, they're frozen at 772. And meanwhile, we're accruing 3 points every couple of seconds from both of the other caps, so not going to be too long before we go ahead of them on points. and the Essex is going to have to sink me in the next 30 seconds if he wants to win, which he cannot do unless he gets really lucky and gets like a detonation or something, but I don't think he can because I'm running the anti-detonation flag. So we've got this game in the bag. The only question is, can we get a Kraken unleashed? After all, the Essex is still alive, and, well, he's probably pushing in to reduce the flight time it's going to take for his ships to get, or for his planes to get to my ship. There he is, 6 seconds left to go in the game, Kraken Unleashed flashing before our eyes, and of course, because we were so excited to see the Essex, I really honestly didn't expect to catch him there. We were very excited to see him and try to secure the Kraken, and we completely flubbed that salvo and miss, which is a bit of a tragedy. If we had hit him, it's entirely possible he would have sunk, and maybe we would have netted the high caliber Confederate medal too, along with all the other medals we got, along with the Kraken Unleashed, but hey, didn't happen. Still, we finished the game with 188,000 damage, Dev Strike, Close Quarters Expert, and Dreadnought, and 2,400 base XP, which I think is a pretty good game by anybody's standards. So I hope you enjoyed this look at the USS Wisconsin. This is a ship I'd love to see come to World of Warships Legends at Legendary tier sometime in the future. And I've got a number of other ships like that on WoW's PC. If you'd like to see any of those featured, let me know in the comments section, give the video a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.